Looking at them, they're a little lopsided.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Games Podcast. I'm Amber P.
I'm Alexis Adams.
And for today's topic, what not to do on stage. This is going to be a good one. This isn't to hurt anyone's feelings. Just trust us. We kind of know what we're talking about. But first, we have to do an update because Alexis just got your lips filled. Is that correct?
Yes. The last time I did
What is
anything with my
that?
face was,
Did you see that?
it's like fireworks.
Fireworks. I guess fireworks
What
for
in
the
the world?
lips.
um, the last time I did anything with my face, it was like Botox here and a lip flip. So this time the filler was like completely gone. I metabolized all of it. For reference, the last time I got filler, I think, was in December, and it's right at, the very end of July. So that's about how long it
Oh.
lasts for me. But like each time I get about half a syringe because I don't have itty bitty lips. I just mainly don't love that my top lip is a lot smaller than my bottom lip. Like they don't match each other. And then when I smile, my top lip will go away. So they're swollen right now. I literally got them done less than 2 hours ago. So I was looking before because there's like bruising here, so it makes them look like they're lopsided, but they're not.
Oh.
Um, but the bruising for me, like this is about as bad as I ever get it. Um, there's like one right here, and then here because like I want them to fill it, so they poke a lot right here to get the filler where we want it to get height. Um, but yeah, so she did half a syringe, and then I'll go back in like 3 weeks. It takes up to a full 2 weeks for it like to completely settle. The swelling lasts a couple days. This bad
Okay.
swelling, like they'll be smaller than this. This swelling usually lasts the first day or so, and then they're just like swollen, like inflamed as it's like still like settling into place and all of that. So it takes like 2 weeks for it to like kind of be where the baseline's going to be. So I'll go back in 3 to see if I want any more in any spots. Um, if we need to touch it up at all. But I wanted to go like in small amounts rather than putting a bunch in and being like, and then
Whoa.
then you have to play with like dissolving it and it's a whole mess. So slow and
Yeah,
steady.
for sure.
But
And okay,
I use this
so
for like,
we can okay.
it like helps cool them and helps the
So
swelling a little bit.
okay. So and this isn't like a what not to do, but it's just something I noticed on the stage glam side. Again, I don't know if it has anything to do with the injector, how long it's healing, but something I do see quite a bit because, like, obviously I'm right up on the girlies and I'm putting the lipstick on, and I notice like a lot of a girl's lips are lumpy. Is that because it's not being massaged, or what causes that?
So lumps can happen and they're most common right after you get it. So you definitely should not be
Okay,
getting any filler or anything within 2 weeks of show because it needs time to
that's
settle
what it
and like
is.
smooth out. Sometimes when you get it, like there will be lumps and then you massage it. So sometimes maybe they're just not massaging it. Or it can
Okay.
happen when they're overfilled and there's just too much filler in the lips and you guys know what that look is of what I'm talking about when it's just you've gone too far. And I can definitely see how that can happen. Because I want like I when I go, I'm like, I want you to help me make sure that I don't look crazy because you can
Right.
get desensitized to it. So like the reason I got the lip flip last time is I went planning to get filler. And I felt like my lips were back to baseline. And this was my first time at this office. She'd never seen my lips before, so she didn't know, like, she didn't put the filler in there last time. But she was looking at me and she's like, I can see that you have filler, and let me show you how to tell. And, like, like helped me feel the filler with my fingers. She's like,
Yeah.
it's still there, so I don't want to put any more filler in there. I just want to flip it. So I was like, oh, you need that kind of injector. You do not need someone who's like, you want to buy another half syringe and you got one 3 months ago? Yep, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, and that's so true because like I think what some girls fail to realize is like regardless like I mean that's still part of, the beauty regimen. Like as professionals, it's our job to say, well, hold on cuz I've had an athlete once and I don't ever say any names, but she just genetically already had full lips, right? And then she went and got a lot of filler. And then she asked me to overline her lips. And I had to say, hey, no, I'm not doing that because I guess she became desensitized to it. But I just had to kindly tell her, you got enough going on already. If I overline lips that are already naturally full with a ton of filler in it, you're going to look crazy.
Yes. So, because I was planning this, like, Martin's fine with, like, not that your significant other should have a serious impact on what you do with your body, but I do think it's nice to run it by them. Like, don't come home with a crazy altered face, like, surprise. That's not fair either.
Yeah, don't do that.
So I told him, like, my lip filler is gone. I can tell, the lady can tell, I'm gonna get filler. And he is like, just doesn't want crazy. Like, I've gotten lip filler before.
That's
He knows it
fair.
looks fine. He's just like, don't go crazy. And I agree.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about it. So then he's scrolling on Instagram and he's like, sends me this reel and he's like, do you like, this is what I'm worried about. And I was like, actually,
No,
I
sweetheart.
don't even think that girl has lip filler. But so we know African Americans have fuller lips naturally, right?
Right.
This girl had lips and then I'm pretty sure overlined them. And I was like, that's just someone, either she did her makeup bad or the person who did her makeup didn't make a good call because it
Yeah.
looked crazy. But it didn't, it just looked like her natural lips. But when you overline them, it makes them look bigger. So if you already have big lips, you don't need to overline them. Just like the opposite, like Amber has overlined my lips before when I didn't have filler, and I'm like, I look great. I get filler because I can't do what Amber does, so I can't do that every day. But
That's so funny.
just the same, like, I think that's the same with lashes. Like,
Oh my
you
God.
said
Yeah.
you've had girls who have a full set of lashes on, and then they're like,
Mhm.
I want lashes on top. And then you look like a freaking bird that's about to fly away.
Crazy. Or it's so heavy, it's almost like they can't even open their eyes all the way. It's like, hey, girl, the lights are already bright. You don't want these elephant ears hanging on your lashes. It's just a lot happening. It's a lot happening. And
Yeah.
I think something that happens too, a lot of girls don't realize is just because something looks good on one athlete doesn't mean it's going to look good on you. Like you have so much to consider, like your bone structure, your facial shape. Like if you're someone who has a small eye structure, a big old crazy lash is not going to look good on you because you don't have the eye structure to hold it. So is you got to be mindful. It's this posing, same thing. There's various physiques, right? So how one girl hits her front pose, it might look totally different on you because y'all structures are just different.
Yeah. It's just like, you need someone there making sure that you are doing what looks appropriate for your face. Just like, so today, like, the filler that I bought, the specific kind that I got, they don't sell by half syringe. So like, the product arrives to the office in a full syringe. So it's like 1 ml. Um, and usually I will get half. And like, I kind of know that because I don't have tiny lips. So I don't need them
Mm-hmm.
bursting at the seams. I don't want that aesthetic. Um, but she was like, we'll start with half. I can keep it in the store for like 6 weeks before I have to throw out an open syringe. So then
Yeah.
that gives us like a cushion because I'm going to burn through it. I burn through filler faster than the average person because of how active I am. So then like that gives us kind of some wiggle room for touch up before the Olympia, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But she was like, I'm looking at your face to because you can put filler other places than just your lips. You can get
Mhm.
like you can put it in your forehead, your cheeks, your jawline, like really anywhere. And she was like, I'm looking at your face to see if we can put the other half of the syringe anywhere else, but I don't really see anywhere to put it. And I was like, that's your expertise. I didn't come
Don't
in
do
here
it.
wanting my cheeks filled. So
Yeah.
if you don't think they need it, let's not put it there. I'm not trying to fill up my face just because I bought it. I'm also not trying to waste it. So like I'll go
Right.
back, you know, especially because
Yeah.
like then I'll be closer to show. So it might be more appropriate to put it somewhere when my face is more sunken. Um, but that I appreciate her for. And because she says stuff like that, when she was doing like really, we usually only film my top lip and maybe a little bit like corners of my bottom because my
Mhm.
bottom, like this is on my lip
Mhm.
and it's naturally fuller. And when she was injecting, she did the top and she was like, she gave me the mirror, let me look, and she was like, I think I would put a little bit right here just to like pout it out. I'm not gonna do the whole bottom, I'm just gonna do right here. And I was like, I trust you
Right.
because the last few times I was here, you wouldn't let me get filler at all. So I know you're not just trying to put it in my face, you
Right.
know? And that in the aesthetic world, that is the kind of injector that you want. Someone who wants to like amplify the areas that you do want spruced up, but not just trying to sell you product because
Yeah.
you don't want to just be sold product for your face.
Yeah. And then before you know it, you're walking around looking like a freaking puppet. So you don't. That's not. You don't want that.
Yeah.
It's very daunting. We've all seen it where the person's got so much filler, and you're just like, wow, you are packed.
Yes.
All
Where your
right.
face
What?
looks so plastic and you can't like you're
Yes.
just talking like this because your face doesn't move.
Yeah. There's just like no emotion, no nothing. It almost looks like it kind of hurts too.
Yeah. Um like she told me to raise my eyebrows the first time I went, and if I raise my eyebrows,
Mhm.
you see that I have lines. That's because my eyebrows move up. It's the skin moves up, and so there's
Right.
lines. Like
Yes.
I think it's always done that. But when I relaxed, there's no lines.
Right.
So another girl I was talking to, I was telling her that I got the Botox here, and she was like, "Why didn't you get your forehead?" And I was like, "She said I didn't need it," and she was like, "Raise your eyebrows," and I did. She's like, "You have lines there." I was like,
Well, of course, if I walk around
"Yeah,
like this,
yeah." She's like, "When I raise my eyebrows, watch." And like nothing happened. She's like, "That's what I want," and I was like, "That's not what I want."
no, I like I'm an animated person. I want you to understand how I'm feeling. So, mm-mm.
Yeah. Like I talk with my face, that's me.
Yes.
And like each their own. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't want lines on my forehead when I raise my eyebrows, girl,
Work.
fill it up. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
when I told the girl that, she was like, all right, then you don't need it. Like if you don't
Yeah.
mind the lines when you raise your eyebrows, you don't need anything.
Right.
Like, and that's realistic. If you do mind the eyebrows, fill it up. Just be
Mhm.
aware that it's going to give you a different look.
Absolutely. I remember, I think it was like a couple of months ago, I had mentioned to Marilla, I was like, man, Botox. He was like, you don't need that. Don't go putting that in your face. And I'm looking at him, I was like, God bless your sweet soul. I said, boy, I've had Botox plenty of times and you had no idea. So you lied to me? No, I didn't lie to you. You didn't ask. I didn't feel the need to say anything. Like I was leaner, but it was literally just like the tiny because when my face starts to get sunken in, I could notice I was seeing more lines and I got a big old forehead. So I was like, nah, baby, fill it up. But when I'm in, I got body fat on me, I'm fine. But I don't want to walk around like I want my face to move when I talk. It's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. We're alive, we're well. All right, so let's talk about some presentation don'ts. Those were some pretty, good ones to kick off with. One that I see that irritates me, and I think it's just simply because for my physique, I'm so cautious of it, but just like obnoxious arm movements, especially for like girls that are tall. Like we're already long, so like if you're like you shouldn't be hitting a cheerleader high V. Like my rule of thumb is like I don't like for my arms to come like too high up, like maybe like midway to where my belly button is. And if it does come a little higher, it's not like flamboyant, but it's getting to be a lot. It's almost looking more so like a dance routine, so to speak, instead of like a bodybuilding posing routine. Like it's just giving too much.
Yes. That is like, that's the general guideline that I say too, is to give it like no, if your hand's coming higher than your belly button, it's too high. So if your
Yeah.
hand is like midline with your belly button, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like when you're transitioning, but like this, no ma'am, no.
It's
You
like what's
see some pros do it, some bikini and some wellness pros. You see very few do it, and it looks good. Very few can get away with the extreme movements.
mm-hmm.
And one of you listening, that might be you. The majority, it is not. So, as a good rule of thumb, going crazy is not the move.
Yeah. And I think it's some people's efforts to try too hard to be different. And it's just kind of like, in the grand scheme of things, y'all, all they really need to see is your front and your back. Okay. Like for us bikini wellness girls, it's the front and the back. I know the wellness girls have their quarter tones, but we're not doing back double buys. We're not doing lat spreads. So, in the name of keeping it simple and not making yourself look ridiculous, be mindful of it. But then also, like something else that I don't like too is just kind of like, y'all, and I see it in wellness. I'm like, you were not Francielli, okay? I get it. She's amazing, but she is who she is. And so many athletes have tried to jack her style, and it makes you look ridiculous because at the end of the day, you can't do it like her because you're not her. So it's like, get your own style, get your own swag. Like, I hate seeing people copy others. It's like, be inspired, but don't copy it down to the T.
Yeah. Um, if you are trying to mimic someone, it looks like you're trying to mimic them. So, you can take some inspiration. You can take their flow and like
Mm-hmm.
maybe how they hit a pose and try it on yourself. But if you are copying the routine, it's going to look like you copied the routine.
Mm-hmm. What you got?
Um, so I guess vacuums on stage. I've had a couple girls, so I have like the option with posing to submit just like your quarter turns in your routine, and I can shoot you a quick video back of recommendations. And it's come up a couple times of vacuuming, especially in that front pose and the side poses for wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Bikini, please do not vacuum on stage. Wellness, also, please do not vacuum on stage, especially a full vacuum. Um, and I think where the misconception is coming is you do see top wellness pros with very defined midsections. That's from years of compound lifting and training abs. So the muscle itself is defined. You have
Yeah.
developed abdominal muscles. And then on top of that, it's from years of vacuum practice. They're not holding a vacuum. They're not pulling a deep vacuum on stage. If you guys have watched my stories, you know how deep I can pull a vacuum. That is like, we're not trying to hold our breath. And then also, when you are holding your breath, you can't keep holding it.
No.
They will, a lot of times, especially in the front pose, that's where they move girls around. So you'll be holding there for like 30 plus seconds. When you're nervous, when you're under those lights, you can't hold your breath for 30 plus seconds. I've not seen anyone be able to do it on show day. So even if you can do it when you're practicing barely, it's not going to be that long on show day. So then when you breathe, it looks bizarre because you just had this pulled in midsection, and now you have to take a full breath because you've been holding your breath for so long, and now your gut's out. So the practicing vacuums is important to prepare for posing, but you're not holding a vacuum while you are posing. I want to be very clear. We are not holding vacuums on stage. In wellness or bikini, we are not. Um, it sometimes looks like girls are because of how strong their transverse abdominis is. So I'm not super lean, y'all, but there's a difference between relaxed,
Yeah.
vacuum pulled, or TBA engaged,
Mm-hmm.
and then vacuum. that looks crazy in your front pose. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. And then I'm someone like just my structure is like ribby anyway. So if I were to pose how I used to, and I had to pose big when I poke out and then suck in, oh my God, that would look crazy. And I
Yes.
think a lot of girls do that, not understanding that we're not vacuuming, you're just keeping it tight. You're just keeping it
Yes, there's a very big difference. So, like, practice your vacuums because the more that you practice, the stronger that your transverse abdominis gets, the tighter you can pull your midsection.
tight.
But we're not holding our breath and sucking in on stage.
No, that's uncomfortable. Don't pass out on stage.
Oh,
That'd be terrible. Oh, I know this is one because I used to do it and it was very hard for me to break transitioning into my back pose and that little wiggle.
I think it's like a setup thing, and it's like a pose that you can't see. So you're
Yeah.
kind of trying to make sure you feel like you're in spot. But y'all, when you're going to your back pose, you pivot, step, step, find midline. That's
Period.
it. Step, step, hold it.
Hmm.
Not shimmy, 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 shimmy. Because then it's
Yeah.
like, why is she moving? Why is she wiggling her butt?
Right.
And let's not put any exaggeration into that hip swing as you're getting in and out of that pose.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are not doing any around the world. No, ma'am.
It's horrible.
We are not on a pendulum. You can shift your weight
Right.
from one hip to the other because you have to do that to take a step. But we are not like
Yeah. No.
30
They
up
don't
and
want that.
swinging.
Not swinging. And then something that I realized a lot of amateur athletes do, but I think it's probably just because like just not knowing in their back pose. I think sometimes like they kind of like clench their butt together, excuse me, their glutes together, and it's like no, relax. Because when you do that, you're distorting the entire shape of your glutes. And so you might think in your mind like, "Oh, I need to flex," but you don't. Just
Yes, and
relax.
that was exactly me. So I did that until my first show the night before. Nelson's looking at me in person, and I hit my back pose, and he's like, "What are you doing with your butt?" And I was like,
What you
"I'm
mean?
squeezing." He was like, "Don't do that." What are you doing? And then
Mm-mm.
once you've created that habit, y'all, it's a hard habit to break because you're used to engaging that muscle. So it's
Yeah.
hard. So I know it feels like a pose that you should be doing something in, but you're just arching your lower back. It's just an anterior pelvic tilt. Your
Mhm.
chest is stacked above your legs. Your glutes are up like a string is pulling your butt cheeks up to the ceiling, but your
Mhm.
chest stays up as well. Um, and we're not bending over because that really it makes the glute itself look flatter.
Mhm.
It makes your midsection look non-existent because now you're leaned forward and the
Right.
judges are below you so they can't see it, so now your whole shape is distorted. And I know most of the time when you do that you're trying to create a glute ham tie-in.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be frank, if you are arching your lower back and you can't see the glute ham tie-in, you are too fat.
Ain't
It
nothing to
will
show.
show you do have the muscle, the insertion is there. If you can't see it, you're not lean enough and you don't have enough muscle. Because even at the body comp I am now, I'm very much basically my off season. I've only dropped a couple pounds since starting prep.
Mhm.
My It's faint, but you can see it. But it wasn't like that even my last off season or the off seasons before that because I have more muscle now. So the more muscle that you develop in your glute ham tie-in area, the more prominent that muscle will be. Ultimately, we can show it on everyone, but you have to lose all of the fat. So don't lean forward to create it because you're making things worse. If you're
Mhm.
standing up and you can't see it, you haven't lost the body fat yet.
Yep, I'm right there with you, 100%. I've had this has been a slow fat loss process, but that was something I did notice. Like last season, like I was hammering my hamstrings, but now I can like, oh, was that a glimmer? I'm like, that's a glimmer, and we're not close. That's a good place to be. You can contort, you can twist, you can do all the things, but girl, if it ain't there,
It's
it ain't
not going to look
there.
your best. If you're having to pose it into existence, it's not there yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like
And
I
that's a
always
hard.
say, just stand. If it's there, it's there, and if
Yes.
it's not, there's more work to do, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to like hear, and it's a hard thing to say, and I think a lot of coaches won't say it. And like as a posing coach, I'm not saying anything unless you ask me. But if you are gonna like if you argue me about why you need to bend over in your back pose, I'm gonna tell you that you don't, it's just not there. But I think a lot of coaches like get uncomfortable with that. And I'm very glad that Nelson was never that way.
Yeah,
Um, and was just forward, like it's not there because you don't have enough muscle, or it's not there because you're not lean enough yet.
yeah,
And it's like, all right, sometimes it's a kick in your teeth if you feel like you're almost
absolutely.
there and you realize you're not. And you have to, it's gonna suck even more for a couple more weeks. But I'd rather hear that than to like think the opposite and then be so surprised on show day.
Absolute. I mean, that's how I grew in general. Jay told me everything I did not have. She's like, "You don't have any hamstrings." I was like, "Okay, cool. Work. Watch this. Hamstrings. You need upper and outer glute. Okay, cool. Watch this. Upper and outer glutes on the way." It's just kind of like if your coach don't tell you, you don't know what to work on. So you have
Yep.
to remove your like don't take it personally. Like that's just word of bodybuilding because if your coach doesn't tell you, you're going to get on stage, get your teeth kicked in, and the judges are going to tell you, and you're going to feel like you just wasted a whole season.
Yeah, and that's going to be more frustrating. Like you did this whole prep not knowing this thing, and now it's like, well, if I had known, maybe I would have had different choices. And that's part of the sport too. Like you
Yes.
have to learn some things through trial and error. But I guess hopefully you surround yourself with friends and a coach that is straight up with you.
Yeah. I feel like I've recently been like the barrier of bad news at work because I do a lot of bikini girls' hair and they'll ask me questions. And I'm like, "Hmm." But
And we've said before, guys, like don't ask a question you don't want the answer to. So if you want
yeah.
a specific answer, don't ask it because
Yeah.
that might not be the truth. And if you're asking someone that you trust, they should hopefully be telling you the truth.
Absolutely. And that's my thing. Cause like doing hair is intimate because like you're touching someone. So the same thing like you when you're delivering someone's baby. So they trust you, right? And so it's like obviously there's a bond, there's a trust. So if you're asking me, what do you think about my shoulders? And you don't have any, now I feel like it's my duty to tell you you might need to hit shoulders a little bit harder. That's hard.
Yeah. I've had the opposite too, where they're like, do you think I need to train shoulders more? And I'm like, no, ma'am, you need to, why are you still training them? Like, well, my coach or my boyfriend thinks that they are
Yeah.
not big enough. I'm like, tell them that the wellness, like, look at my pictures because they told me mine are too big this season.
Yes.
So, like, tell them to gauge it off of that because that's judges' feedback. And they're like, oh, like, ah.
Yeah.
Also,
It's
I guess
so
surround
funny.
yourself with people who know the criteria.
For sure, for sure. Olivia got on me. This is like a few months ago. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna do a pump. She's like, when you get a pump for your shoulder, she's like, how light are your dumbbells? I'm like, I mean, it's 10 pounds, it's not nothing. And she kind of looked at me and I was like, okay, I got it. I got it. And then my husband confirmed the other day that my shoulders look like they lost some size. And of course, I'm dying inside. But he's like, that's to your benefit. They were too big. And I was like, shut up, boy.
Hmm. I got the same comment the other day. I put like it was like on my check-in day when I put like the kind of like flexing video, and then someone responded and they were like, "It looks like you brought your delts down. How did you do that?" And I'm like, "I literally haven't touched a dumbbell." Like, but thank you because that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard in my mind, especially like I said, things are slowly coming down, but I'm looking at myself, I'm like, where's my upper body? But
Yep.
it's fine. It'll all work out. Another, okay, this is not like to bust anybody's chops. Again, this it's out of love and it's because of what I do. Let's talk about dated hairstyles, okay? For bikini and wellness for everyone. It's a muscle beauty pageant, right? And there's fine lines with hairstyles. I have seen some hairstyles where I'm like, it's so much volume, it's giving pageant hair. That's not, to me, that's kind of dated. Or, again, it's not to hurt feelings. Like for girls, I guess maybe because the hair's in their face and they'll do like a snooky bump. And I'm just kind of like, ugh, okay, I get it, but just be in mind that some hairstyles on stage, they do give dated, and you don't want to look dated. So if it's a situation where, hair's falling in your face, y'all curl the hair back away from your face and then hairspray it. Use the Got To Be hairspray. It's in a yellow can. Y'all have seen it. I swear, if you spray that on your hair, it ain't going nowhere. Or if you need to like tuck some hair behind your ear, that's fine. But like the bumps and the big pageant, like sometimes I'm just kind of like, oh, that's dating you. And it's
In my
giving, huh,
in my opinion, you don't want any extreme hairstyle on stage at
yeah,
all. I think the edgiest you can get is the fro, and
yeah,
that's still a natural hairstyle, and that's
right.
edgy in this world.
Mhm.
So you can have curls, we don't want ringlets, i.e., please look at my prejudging pictures from Miami. I just curl my hair myself. Y'all know I don't know how to curl my hair. We fixed it for Toronto. Don't do what I did. But I saw the pictures and I was like, oh, that's not how I thought it looked. I knew it was wrong,
I
but I
wasn't gonna
thought it
say a
looked different than
word.
that.
And when you asked me, I was like, but I wasn't gonna stress you out. I was not gonna
Well,
stress you
no,
out.
I'm like, I don't know. But like anything extreme. So like why are we doing bumps on stage? And I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you did a
Okay.
bump. In hindsight, it wasn't a good idea. Like we're not going out. Even if it's, I know a lot of styles from the 90s and the early 2000s are in right now for street looks.
Leave him off
Your
stage.
stage needs, yeah, your hair and makeup needs to look clean. It does not need to look stylish. And I think that's where the blurred line is becoming, because like I see people out and about with bumps. And I'm like, hmm. Because it's the same as like the ponytail with the two strands hanging down in
Yeah,
front of your face. I
yeah,
like that. I think it's
yeah,
cute. Not don't do it on stage. It will look freaking bizarre. But keep in mind we're not trying to do anything extreme on stage. We're trying to look clean and pretty and put together, but
mhm,
we don't want the judges looking at your hair, just like we don't want the judges looking at your arms. We want the judges looking at your
right,
physique as a whole. We don't want
yeah.
them looking at your suit because it's orange. Like we want the package to be complete, not have one standout area.
Yeah. And even like, because I work with a lot of women's physique and women's bodybuilding girls, like their hairstyles, they have hairstyles more so that's pulled up and away from their face, but that makes sense for them. But even still, it's not anything that's dated. Like they are showcasing their whole body. So, yeah, it makes sense for them to not have hair down because they don't want to have to,
To have to
move it all
keep
around.
on pulling it. Yeah.
Right, right. But like I said, like if your hair is natural and is naturally curly, like that's how your hair comes out of your head. We're talking about these just a little just things that make you look a little dated on stage. You don't want that. You went straight in, no chaser. I was trying to like tiptoe.
I don't tiptoe, guys. um when you're on stage, if the judges can see you, you want to always be on.
Hmm.
So when we're on, like, this is, I'm kind of rolling it all into one. Like, you need to be conscious that you are being judged the entire time you're on the stage. It is not, I have seen it happen multiple times where they've done a call out of six girls and there's someone on the sideline. They've already put you through quarter turns once, and just someone on the sideline, for some reason, catches the judge's eye. Either they got overlooked in the initial lookings. I think that's what happens a lot of time, but how do you come back from that? You are on always. So they're looking at the quarters, but those judges are looking at the sidelines too. They're thinking about the second call out, who's coming out
Hmm.
next. And if you are in pose and on and performing That's what you should be doing the entire time you're on stage. I've seen them call another girl out. So they've got 6 on the line. They've quarter turned to you. They're like, number 42, please join the line. And
Mm-hmm.
then they go back through. And now 42 is friggin' top 3. And you're like, how did that happen? Because
Yeah.
42 was trying to win even when she wasn't in the first call out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't ever drop it. Don't think that they're not looking at you because you weren't in the first call out. When you do your routine, your last pose, you sign off, keep your glutes up all the way until you're walking down those steps off the stage. Um, Smile, be conscious of your face. Like, I've seen people even in the first call out who you're on the end, so
It's like, what are we
the
doing?
judges see that. Yeah. And sponsors see that. Guys, how is the best way for you to be in the spotlight for sponsors? Be on stage. That
Yeah.
is your shot. So like that is your game day of scouts going and watching like
Absolutely.
judges or sponsors are watching, especially competitors. Like yes, they want you to be able to sell product and like have an influence and benefit their company, but they also want you to be a good person and they want you to have um charisma, so to say. Like, I think really and honestly, that's where I got a lot of my sponsors because you know that most of the sponsors that I have, I've had since I had like 3,000 followers. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a gazillion, but I was working in bodybuilding because I wanted to be in bodybuilding. And I was as outgoing as I felt comfortable being. And that came off to sponsor. So, like, I played up my strengths and that appealed to people who wanted to pay me and hire me. So, like, maybe you're not a super outgoing person, but maybe you are good at marketing. That's not something that I'm great at, but like, everyone has their strengths. So, like, show day is your day to shine for all of those
Yeah.
reasons. So don't be so fixated on I wanted to be in the middle and I'm not in the middle and so today's just a wash because it's not. You still worked hard to get there.
Yeah. You are your own brand. So regardless if you're in the first call out or last call out, is my thing is like even watching shows, I'm looking at girls who aren't on the line, and I catch girls who are on the line aren't smiling in the back throughout someone's routine. I think some girls, I don't know if it's nerves or if they're trying to give like that whole sultry thing, but it's just coming off like you look like you don't want to be here. It's like it's
And
not
it's like,
working for
guys,
you.
it's hard to hold this constantly. Your cheeks
Yeah.
start shaking, this gets sore. It's like then I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't even know if my smile is up anymore. Like I don't know what my face is doing. So
Yeah.
like it's fine to relax it and take a break, but like
Absolutely.
no, like you're still conscious and then your cheeks took a rest and now you're up again. Like you'll see
Yeah.
me do that even in the call out. Like it's especially if you get nervous or you're excited, like there's so many things going on, it's hard to think about everything. So like you can take a breather, but still be conscious cuz think about like your why and what you feel as a person you represent and you need or like what's important to you, what your values are and you need to represent that on stage. It's okay to be upset about a placing, but there's a time and place to do that and express it.
Yeah. I mean, we can just go ahead and go into that. Like, when it's award time and maybe you were hoping for a higher placing, you just can't get an attitude. That's bad sportsmanship. It's not a good look, and the judges can see it. You never know who's in the audience. Like, I guess what people fail to realize is people think that in order to work in bodybuilding, if you want to grow and be an influencer in bodybuilding, get sponsorships, they think you have to win shows all the time. Look at a lot of the people who have amazing sponsorships. So a lot of them aren't even Olympians. And it's just because on social media they're just bubbly and they're killing it. So don't think that because maybe you're not, top two that it's not possible. It is. You gotta mind yourself because I know for me, like with my girls that are my athletes, everyone has a good spirit. Like I don't care like what your placing is. If you just don't have a good, warm, bubbly spirit, I don't want you to be a part of my culture. Brands look at that stuff. Hold it together. I don't have an attitude. Don't run off stage. Don't, oh, the judges. Wait till you get to your room. Just wait.
Yeah, and I can tell you, and like I have a lot of close connections with girls that I've competed with who are in the second or third call out constantly. And y'all, we all compete to win. We all want to go to the Olympia. So I know that's not a good feeling. You have heard me say numerous times when I was in the second call out at the Olympia, I was crushed and I was like, that's not it feels sucky. So I cannot imagine doing that over and over. So I have even more respect for the girls who compete with me multiple times and see me in the first call out. And when I come off stage, they are genuinely like, congratulations, that is so exciting. There were so
Mhm.
many girls at Miami, like, y'all, in Miami, I went head to head with freaking Rayanne. That is huge. And then when I come off stage, what made me feel even better was the girls who were like, genuinely like, that is like, I felt like I won because the girls were like, that is insane. Like they're just reaffirming what I felt, you know?
Yeah.
When really they could have been they're off stage. They could be like packing up their shit because you guys have seen girls do that, excuse me, in my
Mhm.
language. Who are like pouting, throwing everything, don't want to talk to anyone, heading out because they're mad. They think like things went wrong. They're mad at their coach, they're mad at the judges, they're just in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And I have so much more respect for the girls who I know are not happy with their placing, but are
Mhm.
still congratulating the girls that did well than the girls who are in their feelings. So like again, it's okay to be upset about a placing. I've been there and it sucks. But there's also a time and a place to let that out. Get back to your room, scream into your pillow, get off social media, like just pout. You can do that. But don't do it in front of people who do have the right and are excited about what they just did. Like
Yeah.
everyone can't win and someone has to lose. And it's sucky to be in that position, but you are digging yourself a grave if you are constantly the person who is just negative when things don't go your way.
Yeah. Don't pout in public. It's that simple.
And like you can even be honest, like after the Olympia, when I'm like, I had calmed down, people are like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I mean, I'm kind of bummed. Yes, I placed 13th, and like some people didn't even place, so I recognize that it's a great placing, but it's not as well as I was hoping to do. So I'm not like ecstatic in the moment, you know.
Yeah.
So like it's okay to say that. You don't have to lie, but you can also say
Yeah.
it respectively.
hmm And I think that's the issue for a lot of athletes post show because it was after Junior USA's and I happened to catch Candy. She's like, "Well, I don't want to be ungrateful," and I let her know immediately. I was like, "Just because you're upset that you didn't do as well as you hoped doesn't mean that you're ungrateful. Like those two things do not correlate.
Right.
That's not how that
But it
works."
can come off inappropriate if you go like I guess this is the business side of the sport of like conducting yourself
Mhm.
professionally, and that's something you have to learn that before you're professional if you want to go far in the sport. So that's what we mean when we say like you're carrying yourself as a profession, as a professional, you're crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's, performing how you need to, carrying yourself in a positive light. Just like
Yeah.
if you were working an office job and you were up for a promotion and you interviewed for it and somebody else got it and they sit you down in the office and they're like, we're not giving you the promotion. You're not gonna be like,
Right.
no, you're gonna be like, oh, okay. Like, you're not going to be ecstatic, but you're going to
Yeah.
leave and then maybe cry at home. But you're not going to
Yeah.
be like, you shouldn't be doing that backstage either.
No. And with that, your response should be, "Thank you so much for the opportunity. What is it that I can do better next time?" So you go get your
Right.
feedback
That's why we
from the
get feedback.
judges. And a lot of girls, they don't like that. And I get it. I've been there before where you're upset and you just want to go home. However, the feedback after the show is fresh on the judge's brain. I don't care what anyone says, that feedback is always going to be better than sending in an email. So, yeah, you have to sit there. You might have to lick your wounds, but it's worth it. Because I feel like that's
Very
part of
much.
being a professional. That's part of the sport. Like, job's not over yet. Now you need to go figure out, where do I go from here?
Yep. I've been there where I'm like, I do not want to go backstage. I don't want to stand in that line forever.
Mhm.
But it's worth it getting it then and there. Because especially if you're planning another show and they're like, you need size, then you're not wasting 4 more weeks because it's going to take a couple weeks to get an email back.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either find out now or you can wait a couple more weeks and maybe waste time going in a deficit direction when you could be reversing and growing.
Yep. That's all I got. What else you have?
Um, oh, I guess the last thing, it kind of goes with staying on all the time, but like in the event that your routine is cut short, you had more poses, they called the next girl, now you feel rushed. Do not just walk off the stage. Like,
Oh.
finish up, sign off in your last pose, and walk off like you were planning to do. But don't like, all right, number 42. And you're just like,
I gotta go.
yeah, I've seen that. And I think it surprises people. And I think it's just like, you're not prepared for that. So I do like I
Yeah.
prepare my girls. I try to go over every scenario that I've ever experienced on
Mm-hmm.
stage or watching a show. But always be on. Don't just drop your pose and walk off. Don't storm off because you're mad. All
Yeah.
those things.
I've seen some pros in their routine like that, where they're in a pose and all of a sudden they just walk off. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what happened?
Put your glutes back up. Why did you
Yeah,
just tuck your glutes down?
yeah. I'm like, wait, that's it? All right, y'all. So that's going to wrap up today's episode. Of course, we're coming with love. We're not here to hurt. It's all with love and to be helpful. If you need posing, which you do, hit up Alexis, posing with Alexis. Get on the schedule now. Keep in mind, the closer she gets to Olympia, the less time she's going to have. If you need lifestyle coaching, prep, hit her up. You're probably kind of being wise about how many athletes you're taking as you get closer to shows. I don't know how many spots you
Yeah, I'm
have.
not taking any clients that are trying to compete this year.
Okay.
Um, so like the ones that I have, that's it. But if you are looking to compete next season, that's fine. Or if you're lifestyle, I'm taking those clients right now.
Beautiful. And then Stage Glam, I'll be in Tampa this weekend. We'll both be in Tampa. Hopefully, I'm going to work to try to get this up tomorrow. I'm going to do my best. I still need to go pack. We'll
Yeah,
be
me
in
too.
Tampa this weekend. So if you see us, please come say hi. I'm going to be adding a few more shows to the list. I'm just trying to get myself together and get some stuff sorted out. So be on the lookout for that. And that's it, y'all. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.